Good morning. Happy Wednesday. It is November 30th, last day of the month. And we got one more month into this year, but I wanted to get on here, because I'm feeling pulled and led to talk about my experiences with right now abstaining from sex and being single. And I was pretty hesitant about that because my batting average with relationships is 0. But just want to get into a little bit of that. Um, so I haven't had sex in 3 years. This month it is 3 years. I haven't had sex since November 2019. And I actually started out as a mistake. I did not vow to abstain at that time. It's just November 2019 was the last time I had sex with my partner at the time. And just so happens my partner at the time lived out of town. It was someone that I really wanted to be with, that I assumed that I was going to marry, but it didn't work out that way. And somewhere between myself and my partner, it was assumed that if sex wasn't had, then we didn't want to be with each other, which couldn't have been the furthest thing from the truth on both of us. Because I think just in general, both of us were in a position, not saying currently at the time we were together, but both of us had grew up with these mindsets that sex is an accepting form of kind of consummating a relationship. Keyword, relationship, not a marriage. And we were having sex outside of marriage. And so we were both wrong on both parts. So that's just one thing to be mindful of with that. Now, having said that, probably about January 2020, right before everything shut down with the pandemic, that's when I realized, I really need to do some soul searching with me not having sex. Like, I need to heal anything that has happened in my past, in my childhood, because whether people realize it or not, every time you have sex with somebody, married or not, okay, you are going to connect your soul to that person. And that's the reason why God ordained God ordained sex for marriage, not for just outside of marriage, for a lot of different reasons. He ordained it for marriage because he knew that it is a soul tie. Every time we have sex with somebody, we're connecting our souls with that person. And that's what I did. And, and it took me a while after myself and that individual, after him and I decided to part ways. It took some time for me, I can't speak for him, but it took some time for me to really purge myself of him, because outside of the sex that I ain't gonna lie to you, I enjoyed, I really loved this man. And, but this was my fault. I tied sex to whether he wanted to be with me or not, not realizing that maybe I should have saw those signs some time ago that he really didn't want to be with me. But we're all blinded by sex, and that's why it's just, you have to forgive me if it kind of isn't making sense yet, because I haven't had enough coffee and it's too early. But at the time, it really helped me to understand that sex is purposely for marriage, because you are connecting souls. You're connecting, two people together mentally, spiritually, physically. That's why the marriage bed is undefiled. You know what I'm saying? And, that's the reason why and that's why sex needs to be had in marriage. And, I had spent years in relationships, having sex outside of marriage, and basically binding up, taking all souls. It's basically like a trash can. I mean, I hate to put it like that, but it's basically like a trash can. So every time I had sex with a new partner, I was just, whether they were a bad person or not, I was literally taking bits and pieces of their own souls and collecting it in a trash can. Now, a trash can got a combination of stuff in there, right? So that's literally how I was looking at it. And that's when I said, you know what? I'm gonna leave this alone. I can't, I can't really get into it. Have I gotten close to having sex during this time? I have one time. Very close to it, and it just didn't work out because my mind was really focused on, like, I keep connecting my soul to this person, and this isn't my husband, and this is probably somebody else's husband, and I don't know it. He doesn't realize that I'm somebody else's wife. He may not know it. And that's essentially what we're doing. And that's how I was looking at it. I was violating someone else's husband, and he was violating somebody else's wife. And at that point, that's when I was starting to grow cold with having sex outside of marriage. I didn't want to do it. It was not something I wanted. And unfortunately, that's kind of definitely what added to the bigger distance between myself and my partner at the time, because we did have two different viewpoints on it. And out of all respect, it did kind of come out of nowhere, but I just realized that I couldn't keep doing that anymore, because I just know that that's not God's will for my life. It wasn't God's will for my life to constantly hold on to different souls and have all these soul ties. But I also know it wasn't God's will for my life that if I know that this man was not going to be my husband, for me to continue to violate someone else's husband. And it was time for me to distance myself. But what I've learned in that is that in not having sex, it gave me the opportunity to really take the trash out. Take the trash out of all the soul ties and that type of thing. Just take all those out and just dump them, literally dump them. And that's, like I said, it's not me saying that these men were bad people, whatever the case may be. Not that. But it's an opportunity for me to say, hey, I've collected these ties long enough. I need to get rid of them. And the beauty in me getting rid of these soul ties out of the trash can is that I was able to clean myself, my can, and really discover the things that I need for myself, like, still going through grief with the loss of my mom and my grandmother and my aunt. Those things are important. Just really kind of dealing with grief, really thinking about my finances, thinking about my career, thinking about the things that have happened in my childhood. People got to realize childhood trauma is a real thing, okay? Because sometimes we carry that with us and unknowingly and subconsciously do stuff as a response to what has happened to us as children. Really healing from that. The same thing with finances. Oftentimes we could tell something is off when our finances and our diet and our healthy are just our regular habits that should be healthy, they become unhealthy. So it gave me an opportunity to analyze those things. It really gave me an opportunity to make a stance for myself to say that, hey, I know how important it is for God to be in my life. I know that Jesus is the only way. And in terms of an intimate partner, that intimate partner has to be in agreement with that. And can't really be lukewarm about it. And I say that because it's so important, because the mindset that I have now about the things of heaven and the matters of heaven, it's like, I can't really compromise with that. So, I've done it before, I've compromised, and it didn't turn out so good. So, those are just things to just be mindful of. So, like I said, this month, it is 3 years, I've had no sex. And, ultimately I have been praying for the desires of my heart to be answered, and one of those things is marriage. I still am hopeful for one child, because I am in my late 30s, so I still am hopeful for my one child. But I'm also, the desires of my heart is to have an amazing career, grow an amazing family, and have my own legacy, carrying over some of the things that my mom and my grandmother and my aunt have taught me over my lifetime. But it's just so I say all that to say this: if you're single, like, please don't complain about your single season at all. Don't do it. You know, yeah, there's days where it's kind of rough, you know what I'm saying, coming on the holidays, and you might get on social media and you get discouraged. If you feel discouraged when you look at someone's post and you see someone getting proposed to, or they're wearing matching pajamas or whatever the case may be, if it makes you feel a way, get off social media, delete the app. For real. Like, delete the app, because that's not you feeling contentious or bitter or whatever the case may be. That's not fruit of the spirit. So you delete it. Just get rid of it. You know, the Bible, loosely translated, talks about that if something causes you to sin, one of those things in sin is holding on to bitterness or feeling a way about looking at someone, or jealousy, to get rid of it. So if you, every time you get on social media and you feel a way about something, either unfollow that person or delete the app. Social media ain't that serious, you guys, unless you making money off of it. Different story. Yeah, there's days where you get frustrated with being single, but don't complain about being single, because God has you in this period to draw closer to him and draw out the things that keep you from him. And so it is so important that you work on your finances, you work on your health. This is not only just ladies, this is fellas too. Take care of anything in your childhood that has hurt you, broke you, upset you, that you're still resentful for. One of the things, and I'm so glad I had opportunities to spend time with my parents and my grandmother. One of the things that I would tell anybody: spend time with your parents, spend time with your grandparents. If you're holding on to anything, bitterness, resentfulness, unforgiveness, forgive them, move forward. I'm not condoning that what a parent may have done was harmful, hurtful to a child. That's disgusting, okay? But by all means, like I said, I'm not condoning it at all, okay? But you do have the power to forgive and let that go for your healing. Not for them, but for your healing. It's so important, okay? And speaking of healing, there's nothing wrong with going to therapy. Pray and talk to God and ask God to put the right people in your path so you can seek help and so you can seek therapy, okay? Because I firmly believe in therapy. A lot of people need it, okay? So those are just things to be mindful of. But use a single season to better yourself. Ladies, one of the things that I've learned as a woman is to not be no man's liability. I have no desire to be no man's liability, okay? Like, so yeah, clean up your credit. Don't be coming into a relationship asking for a man to have perfect credit and you can't even get bubble gum on credit. You can't even go to Goodwill and put anything on a credit card at Goodwill. So don't do that. Don't come in a situation you asking for a man to have 6 figures and you barely making any money yourself. Those are things to just be very mindful of. So, yeah, don't complain about your single season. Embrace it. Learn from it. Get rid of every and any soul tie that you might have connected to you. Like, definitely get rid of it. Get rid of it. Dump it. Make peace with it. Heal from your past. And while you're not having sex, get fit. Get physically active. Like, get in shape. Stop eating crazy. A lot of people are trying to get on social media, talk about, you know, spray on this and put on that. And, you know, if you have body odor, spray this. If you have, you know, excessive acne, do this. No, baby, you just need to drink some water and eat your vegetables. That's really what you need to do. So improve your health. Embrace your single season. I'm thoroughly enjoying my single season. God knows I desire a husband, and God has put me in this position to embrace my single season so I can prepare for my husband. So let me know your thoughts. I'm eager to hear your thoughts. And yeah, so power up to the singles. I pray that that the season that you're in, I pray that it is full of healing. And if you're in a situation where sex is so hard, I pray God will put the right people in your path to continuously pray for you as you transition out of that. Come out of agreement with feeling like you need to do things the world's way and do things God's way, and come back and restore yourself into the will of God, that he could have you to himself to work on yourself, not being distracted by sex, but being encouraged by his word and his power, so your kingdom spouse will come and then you'll have amazing sex. That's what one prophet has said. She was like, you know, when you get married, you're supposed to have amazing sex. Yes, when you get married, you're supposed to be having some great sex. So I pray all of us are connected with our kingdom spouses and having amazing sex. partially quoted from our wonderful prophetess Tiffany Montgomery. But I pray that this blesses you. Let me know in the comment section what your feedback is. I love you guys to life. Have a great day.